The teahouse keeper had barely finished polishing the old cups when familiar footsteps echoed through the doorway. So the wanderers of the jianghu have found their way back again. Good, because the newest rumors are too outrageous to keep hidden for long. Come warm your hands by the kettle, and let us see whether today's tale brews stronger than the tea itself. A curious rumor has been racing from village to village. A mere C-grade youth has turned an academy gate into his own toll road, while every proud genius walks away poorer. As rivals sharpen their fists for revenge, and elders quietly observe instead of intervening, Fang Yuan calmly gathers the resources others chase through glory alone. Tonight's chapter reveals why the fiercest battles are often fought not for honor, but for the power to walk the immortal path on one's own terms. Night crept toward Guyu village. At the rim of the western sky, the dying sun burned crimson, like a blood-soaked eye refusing to close. Its final rays spilled through the academy windows, stretching long shadows across nearly 50 young students seated in rigid silence. Upon the raised platform, the academy elder called one name after another, distributing the weekly allowance provided by the clan. For these newly awakened youths, raising a vital gu was no simple matter. Gu worms needed food, cultivation demanded resources, and every primeval stone could determine whether one advanced or fell behind. Fang Yuan. At the rear of the classroom, beside the window, Fang Yuan calmly rose. Under the gazes of the entire class, he crossed the hall and stepped onto the platform. The elder handed him 2 money bags. The first contained 3 primeval stones, the standard clan allowance. The second held 10 primeval stones, the reward for once again obtaining first place. Work hard. The academy elder studied Fang Yuan with a deep, measuring gaze. The elders had once been disappointed by his C-grade talent, yet repeated victories had forced them to reconsider him. Their attention remained faint, but it had undeniably begun to gather. Fang Yuan merely nodded, tucked the moneybags into his robes, and returned to his seat without displaying pride or excitement. Guye Mobei stared at him, fury smouldering behind his eyes. Fang Yuan had taken first place yet again, snatching away the glory Mobei believed should have belonged to him. Nearby, Guyue Chi-Cheng narrowed his eyes. During the assessment, Fang Yuan's 2 consecutive moonblades had struck the puppet directly in the neck. Ever since that moment, one question had gnawed at him without rest. Had those attacks been mere luck, or had Fang Yuan concealed genuine skill? The same doubt haunted many of the students. Their eyes repeatedly drifted toward the quiet figure by the window. They had lost, but their hearts refused to accept the result. Defeat was not what tormented them most. What truly stung was uncertainty. If Fang Yuan had won through luck, they could preserve their pride. But if he had won through skill, then they had been defeated by someone they considered inferior. As the final light faded beyond the academy walls, the elder raised his voice and announced the next stage of their training. You have all spent some time in the academy and have become familiar with using your vital gu. Over the next few days, I will teach you how to warm and nourish your apertures, allowing you to advance your cultivation. The students straightened at once. Discussions of cultivation pierced their hearts more sharply than any blade. The higher a gu master's cultivation realm, the more condensed his primeval essence becomes. Rank 1 gu masters possess green copper primeval essence. Rank 2 gu masters possess red iron primeval essence. Rank 3 gu masters possess white silver primeval essence. 1 portion of red iron primeval essence is equal to 10 portions of green copper primeval essence. Likewise, 1 portion of white silver primeval essence equals 10 portions of red iron primeval essence. This was not merely a difference in quantity. Every rise in rank brought a crushing transformation in the quality of primeval essence. Against such a gap, ordinary numerical advantage could quickly become meaningless. Remember this well. Gu worms are only tools. Cultivation is the true foundation of every gu master. The higher your rank, the stronger the goo worms you will be able to use. Within the next 3 months, whoever advances to rank 1 middle stage first will receive 30 primeval stones and gain the first opportunity to select a second goo worm. A restless current swept through the classroom. 30 primeval stones were already tempting, but the right to choose a second goo first was even more valuable. A suitable goo worm could strengthen a goo master's path, while a poor choice could leave him struggling for years. After 3 months, the Academy will appoint 1 class monitor and 2 vice-class monitors according to your results. The class monitor will receive 10 primeval stones every week. Each vice-class monitor will receive 5. That is all for today. You may leave. The Academy erupted into noise the instant his words ended. Excitement spread among the students like sparks cast into dry grass. They are finally choosing the class monitor and vice-class monitors. One youth clenched his fist, already imagining himself standing above his classmates. The class monitor receives 10 primeval stones every 7 days. If I reach rank 1 middle stage first, that position will surely be mine. Yet for Guyue Mo Bei and Guyue Qi Cheng, the stones were not the true prize. Their families did not lack such resources. What stirred their blood was the authority and glory attached to the position. The class monitor stood above ordinary students. Others would be expected to bow and offer greetings. To hot-blooded youths eager to prove their worth, such recognition glittered more brightly than silver. At their age, status felt like strength, and obedience from others felt like victory. They had not yet learned that a title granted by those above could also become a chain held by those above. Guyue Fangjeng's heart raced. The first person to reach rank 1 middle stage would almost certainly become class monitor. If that person were him, even his elder brother would have to bow and greet him according to Academy custom. With that thought, Fang Zheng instinctively turned toward the rear of the classroom. But Fang Yuan's seat was already empty. The students poured from the Academy, their voices filling the stone corridors. Liu Bei searched among them, hoping to confront Fang Yuan and demand an explanation for the assessment. Fang Yuan, however, had departed before anyone noticed. Qi Cheng sneered inwardly. To him, Fang Yuan's swift disappearance looked like retreat. He convinced himself that the 2 Moonblades had been nothing more than luck. Mo Bei also pushed Fang Yuan from his thoughts. 10 primeval stones were insignificant compared with the coming struggle for class monitor. In his eyes, his true rivals were Qi Cheng and Fang Zheng. Fang Yuan possessed only C-grade talent. Mo Bei could not believe that such a person deserved to stand on the same battlefield as the Academy's celebrated talents. In a test of technique, experience and precision could overturn expectations, but cultivation speed depended heavily on aptitude. The higher the talent, the faster the aperture recovered primeval essence, and the greater the natural advantage became. By ordinary reasoning, Fang Yuan should soon be left behind. Qi Cheng understood this principle better than most, and it filled him with hidden bitterness. His true aptitude was only C-grade. Through deception, he had created the illusion of possessing B-grade talent. While the youths burned with ambition inside the Academy, Fang Yuan was already leaning against the outer gateway, silently watching their excitement. A faint sneer touched his lips. In his eyes, the class monitor and vice-class monitor positions were nothing more than bait, small rewards dangled before inexperienced children. 500 years of life had stripped away the dazzling surface of glory. Fang Yuan understood that honor was often a tool created by those in power to drive those beneath them forward. Whether it was a righteous clan, an immortal sect, a demonic organization, or the societies of Earth, the structure remained largely the same. High and low positions were established. Paths of promotion were displayed. Those at the bottom were encouraged to climb without pause. Human beings naturally pursued profit, Authority awakened superiority, and superiority created the illusion that one's life possessed greater value than the lives of others. Power was the carrot hanging before the donkey. Desire urged people forward. They fought for promotion, flattered those above them, and struggled against those beside them. Yet while they climbed, their labor was harvested and their value extracted by the very structure they served. After one level came another. After one reward appeared a greater reward. Glory, merit, duty, and shared values were woven together, preventing those below from seeing the hand that guided their ambitions. At times, even religion could be employed to bind the hearts of the masses. Different titles and unequal benefits divided people into ranks, yet the entire chain ultimately served those standing at its summit. The class monitor position was merely the smallest version of this ancient design. A few primeval stones and a little authority were enough to make dozens of youths willingly enter the clan's hierarchy and compete according to its rules. Fang Yuan had seen the same truth in his previous life. In the Middle Kingdom, he had founded the Bloodwing demon sect and commanded tens of thousands. He had established ranks such as demon soldiers, demon generals, and demon sages. Each position carried different privileges and rewards. Countless followers had flocked toward those benefits, like ducks rushing into water, allowing him to command them with ease. Fang Yuan did not despise the mechanism because it was ineffective. He despised the naivete of those who mistook the mechanism for something noble. He had once stood at the top of such a structure, so he knew exactly how useful ambition could be when properly controlled. To him, every organization was merely an outer form. Beneath every banner, every rule, and every title lay the same foundation: resources. Without food, a person starved. Without water, a person died of thirst. Without cultivation resources, a Gu master weakened, fell behind, and would eventually be crushed by someone stronger. And among the resources required by a Gu master, primeval stones were indispensable. Fang Yuan's eyes became as deep and still as an ancient pond. The edge of his mouth curved upward, forming a cold, knowing smile. The others were preparing to compete for titles. Fang Yuan was preparing to seize the resource beneath those titles. That difference in perspective was precisely what separated a 500-year-old demon from a classroom of children. He had already left the academy building and positioned himself directly at the school gate. Before long, the first group of students approached, still talking excitedly about cultivation, rewards, and future status. They noticed Fang Yuan standing in the center of the entrance. "It's Fang Yuan. Why is he standing in the middle of the gate? Every time I see that lifeless expression of his, I become irritated. Ignore him. He is probably waiting for someone." The youths paid him little attention and continued forward, expecting him to step aside. Instead, Fang Yuan moved across the gateway and blocked their path. There was no hesitation in his movement, and no shame in his eyes. While the academy taught its students to earn resources through obedience and competition, Fang Yuan had chosen a far more direct method. "I am robbing you. Everyone must surrender one primeval stone before leaving." The young cultivators froze for a heartbeat. Shock swiftly turned into anger, and angry voices erupted before the academy gates like sparks scattering across dry grass. "What, did I hear you correctly? Fang Yuan, has your head overheated? You dare stand before the academy gates and extort us? Have you gone mad? Who gave you the courage to target all of us? Scram! You are merely a petty C-grade talent. How dare you block my path? Refuse to move, and I will send you flying with my ugh." Before Guye Beiju could finish his threat, Fang Yuan moved. His right palm tore through the air, swift and exact. The edge of his hand struck the left side of Beiju's neck with ruthless precision. The teenager had never imagined that Fang Yuan would truly attack. One moment he was hurling insults. The next, his eyes rolled upward and his body collapsed, unconscious before it touched the ground. "Damn it! You actually dared to strike him." The crowd jolted backward, as though an invisible blade had swept across them. Their mouths remained fierce, but their feet had already betrayed their fear. Guyebeju fainted. What are we supposed to do? What else can we do? There are so many of us, while Fang Yuan is alone. Rush him together and beat him down. Exactly. He does not know his place. Challenging all of us alone is the same as digging his own grave. Everyone, attack! Yet their courage existed only in their shouting. Before they could form a proper assault, Fang Yuan had already crossed the distance and plunged into their midst. His palm flashed again. The edge of his hand landed upon another youth's neck, and the boy's eyes turned blank as he crumpled without resistance. Ah! Another teenager swung a furious fist. It carried anger but no discipline, force but no experience. Fang Yuan lowered his body, letting the fist whistle harmlessly over his head. In the same fluid motion, his leg rose and struck the boy between the legs. Ah! The youngster's roar had begun deep and indignant, but the instant the blow landed, it climbed into a sharp, miserable shriek. His knees buckled. Both hands clutched his injured groin as he rolled across the ground, screaming while cold sweat drenched his body. Then Fang Yuan's fists began to move in earnest. He tore through the crowd like a tiger, descending upon a flock of helpless sheep. These academy youths had only recently stepped onto the path of cultivation. Their bodies possessed youthful strength, but their minds had never been tempered by genuine combat. Fang Yuan, however, carried 500 years of battle experience within the frame of a 15-year-old. The difference between them was not merely skill. It was an abyss of judgment, timing, and killing instinct. Every wild punch revealed an opening. Every reckless charge exposed a weakness. Fang Yuan needed neither superior cultivation nor overwhelming strength. One precise strike was enough to end each confrontation. In the blink of an eye, the entire group had fallen. Some lay unconscious, while others curled upon the ground, drained by pain and unable to rise. What is happening here? Guillermo Bei had arrived. His eyes widened when he saw Fang Yuan standing calmly at the academy entrance, surrounded by 5 or 6 fallen students. Fang Yuan, he wants to extort our primeval stones. The injured student clutched his stomach as he shouted, his anger surviving even after his courage had failed. Oh, you still have that much energy. Fang Yuan's expression remained as flat as still water. He stepped forward and drove a fierce kick into the boy's abdomen. Oh! The student folded like a cooked shrimp. Fear replaced defiance, tears streamed down his face, and he no longer dared utter another word. That kick was not an act of uncontrolled rage. Fang Yuan was establishing a rule before every witness. Resistance would cost far more than surrender. By punishing the loudest protest immediately, he crushed not only one student's body, but the courage of everyone watching. The newly arrived students stared at him with pounding hearts. Before their eyes, Fang Yuan's coldness had become something savage, almost inhuman. Enough. Behave yourselves and hand over 1 primeval stone each. Do that and I will let you leave. Refuse and those lying on the ground will show you what comes next. Fang Yuan took a broad step forward. His tone was neither excited nor angry. That merciless calm made his threat heavier than any furious roar. Your mother, a petty C-grade talent, dares challenge me, a B-grade talent. Mo Bei's fury exploded. Before anyone could restrain him, he charged forward with both fists raised. Fang Yuan merely turned his ankle. His body drifted sideways with effortless precision, and Mo Bei's fist cut through empty air. His left hand rose. 2 fingers shot toward the center of Mo Bei's clavicle and struck the vulnerable point, just beneath his throat. Mo Bei's vision instantly vanished. His body struck the ground with a dull thump, unconscious before he could understand how he had lost. A collective hiss escaped the crowd. Those who had been preparing to rush, Fang Yuan stopped at once, their courage frozen in their chests. To these inexperienced youths, Fang Yuan's attacks appeared mysterious and profound. In truth, the academy had vaguely taught them that the human body contained vulnerable points. They simply had never valued such ordinary martial knowledge, while Fang Yuan had refined it through centuries of survival. A precise strike to those weak points could make a person lose consciousness immediately. A heavier strike could even threaten life itself. Yet Fang Yuan never allowed his strength to cross that boundary. Those he defeated were either unconscious or overwhelmed by temporary pain. Not one had suffered a truly severe injury. This restraint made him even more terrifying. Any brute could injure someone in anger, but only an experienced combatant could dominate a crowd while measuring every blow. Fang Yuan was not losing control. He controlled everything. "Will you hand over the stones or not?" Fang Yuan advanced another step, pressing down upon the remaining youths with nothing but his presence. They exchanged uncertain glances, half-gritted their teeth in fear, while the others roared to conceal their hesitation. Then, driven by humiliation and numbers, they surged forward together. Fang Yuan slipped between their attacks while striking in return. His cultivation was still low, but his battle realm remained untouched. His heart was as cold as ice, and every movement was swift, economical, and exact. Thump! Within only a few breaths, another wave of bodies crashed to the ground. He is too vicious, too terrifying. They are not going to die, are they? Only a few young girls remained standing. They had never joined the charge, and now their widened eyes trembled as they looked across the defeated students. Fang Yuan's gaze swept toward them. Their faces instantly turned pale. They waved their hands frantically and retreated several steps. "No, do not come any closer. We surrender. We will hand over the primeval stones." After receiving several primeval stones, Fang Yuan allowed them to pass. They stumbled through the academy gateway as though fleeing from a fearsome beast. More students soon arrived, one group after another, yet there was only one route out of the academy, and Fang Yuan stood directly upon it. His choice of position was no accident. By controlling the sole gateway, Fang Yuan transformed one narrow path into a net that every student had to enter. He did not need to chase anyone. The academy itself delivered his targets to him. Damn, what happened here? Is that Guye Mo Bei? Guye Chi Cheng stared at the unconscious Mo Bei. His eyes stretched wide and his mouth hung open in disbelief. Then Fang Yuan calmly announced his price. The newcomers erupted in anger, charged him together, and fell just like those before them. Again and again, pride drove the students forward, and again Fang Yuan used that pride against them. By now, the contest was no longer about physical strength. It had become a lesson in how easily wounded dignity could be manipulated. "Sir Elder, are we truly going to watch without intervening? What happens if someone loses his life? How could we possibly salvage the situation then?" The guards had observed the violence from nearby, and worry had begun to spread among them. "Fang Yuan is outrageously bold. He dares extort his own classmates directly beneath our eyes, at the gates of the academy itself. He shows utter contempt for law and discipline. Give the command, sir, and we will seize him immediately." The disturbance had attracted attention almost from the moment it began. Yet the guards were mortals, and mortals possessed no authority to punish academy students. They could only report the matter to the academy elder. But after hearing the report, the academy elder did not order Fang Yuan to stop. Instead, he ascended the pavilion and watched from afar. It seems this child possesses genuine talent for battle. The longer he watched, the deeper his interest became. Earlier that day, Fang Yuan's use of the Moonblade had already planted uncertainty within the elder's heart. Now, as he watched Fang Yuan oppose an entire generation of students alone, those doubts began to clear. Fang Yuan's cultivation was modest, yet his composure remained unshaken. Surrounded by enemies, he moved with an unstoppable rhythm and an almost graceful bearing. In this world, certain people were born unusually sensitive to battle. They understood danger instinctively, found inspiration amid conflict, and could produce astonishing results under pressure. Such an innate gift could not be measured by primeval essence alone. So he is a natural battle gu master. The elder's admiration was followed by a quiet sigh. What a pity. His aptitude is only C grade. In the end, he still falls 1 grade short. The Academy elder could recognize Fang Yuan's terrifying combat sense, yet he remained bound by the cultivation world's ordinary judgment. Aptitude determined potential. He saw a brilliant fighter trapped beneath a C-grade ceiling, but he could not see the 500 years of darkness concealed behind those calm eyes. "Sir, are you still not going to stop this farce? If he continues causing trouble, I fear the consequences will become difficult to contain." The guards remained tense, but the Academy elder continued watching from the pavilion. Below him, the Academy gateway had become Fang Yuan's battlefield, and every new student approaching it was unknowingly walking toward the same cold demand. And this was only the beginning. Fang Yuan had not merely taken a handful of primeval stones. Before the eyes of the entire Academy, he had begun carving fear, authority, and his own brutal rules into the hearts of his peers. High above the Academy gates, the elder watched the chaos below without the slightest intention of interfering. One eyebrow rose as quiet amusement surfaced on his weathered face. Why should we stop him? He lifted one finger and pointed through the window toward Fang Yuan, who stood amid the fallen students like a lone wolf guarding a mountain pass. That young man has already seized control of the entire situation. More importantly, every one of his attacks remains restrained. Observe how he strikes the neck. He attacks only from the left or right, never directly at the back of the head or the nape. A blow to the side can make someone lose consciousness immediately. A blow to the back of the neck, however, could take a life. He understands the difference, so he deliberately abandoned the deadlier method. This was not the reckless violence of a furious child. Fang Yuan was measuring force, choosing angles and controlling consequences. Behind every palm strike lay experience far beyond the body of an ordinary 15-year-old. Look at those youths lying on the ground. Which one of them has truly suffered a grave injury? Not a single one. And even if their wounds were somewhat serious, do you believe the Academy's treatment gu masters would be incapable of curing injuries of this degree? The chief guard narrowed his eyes. He knew the elder had seen through the battle, yet resentment still burned within his chest. But Lord Elder, that child is far too arrogant. He has blocked the Academy entrance. He clearly does not acknowledge our presence as guards. Being ignored is not the greatest concern. What matters is how the clan will judge the Academy. A petty C-grade student has caused such a disturbance at our gates, yet we have done nothing to stop him. Should news of this spread, I fear it may damage your reputation, Lord Elder. The Academy elder's amusement vanished. His gaze swept across the guards like a sword drawn halfway from its sheath. Is that truly the reason? Or did the boy disregard all of you, making you feel that your dignity had been challenged? The guards lowered their heads beneath that piercing stare. None dared argue aloud, though dissatisfaction remained hidden behind their silence. What is wrong with fighting? So long as no lives are lost, conflict awakens the students' competitive spirit and tempers their will to battle. Stopping every struggle would only suffocate their fighting passion. Were there no battles among the students of previous years? Every generation fought, and they fought often. The only difference is that those fights usually erupted during the latter half of the year, after the students had mastered some means of combat. Once youths possess strength, their hands naturally begin to itch. At that age, aggression is hardly unusual. Why did none of you stop them then? The elder did not regard conflict as a stain upon the Academy. In his eyes, controlled struggle was another furnace of cultivation, one that exposed courage, weakness, judgment, and resolve, before the students ever stepped onto a true battlefield. Perhaps it was because the previous fights were mostly individual duels. Battles on this scale were rare. Fang Yuan truly possesses a talent for creating disturbances. The Academy elder slowly shook his head. No, you did not stop those students because you did not dare. After cultivating for half a year, a Gu master gains strength beyond that of ordinary mortals. With your frail mortal bodies, how could you possibly restrain them? You wish to stop Fang Yuan now because he has only recently begun cultivating. You believe he has not yet accumulated enough power to threaten you. And because he ignored your existence, you feel personally offended. His tone sharpened, each word descending upon the guards with the weight of clan law. Remember this well. Every student here bears the surname Gu Ye. They are members of my Gu Yu clan, and they are your masters. They may be young, they may still be weak, nevertheless they remain your masters. The elder's face darkened until it resembled still water beneath a storm cloud. Your surnames are not Gu. What worth do you possess before the clan? Because of your loyalty, you were granted positions as guards and rewarded with a few pleasant benefits. But beneath those rewards, what are you? Slaves, nothing more than slaves. And now slaves dare offer absurd judgments about their masters? You dare interfere in matters belonging to your masters? The Academy elder's words revealed the merciless hierarchy sustaining the Gu Yue clan. Bloodline stood above service, and clan membership above personal dignity. Loyalty could earn immortal benefits, but it could never erase the invisible chain around his neck. The guards' faces drained of color. In an instant, every trace of indignation disappeared, replaced by naked fear. They dropped to their knees one after another. That was not your subordinate's intention. We would never dare. Their denials tumbled over one another, desperate and unceasing. The elder merely gave a cold snort and pointed toward the chief guard who had criticized Fang Yuan. You made an outrageous judgment concerning your master. You are relieved of your position. The verdict fell without room for appeal. After allowing the silence to deepen, the elder turned his attention to the remaining guards. In half a month, there will be another examination to select a new chief guard. At once, the other guard's eyes began to shine. Fear had barely loosened its grip before ambition surged into the space it left behind. The position of chief guard, that would grant an additional half a primeval stone every month. To become chief is to rise above the others, aside from the Gu Master Lords who would dare show displeasure toward me. How glorious it would be if I gained that position. With only a few words, the elder had transformed panic into competition. First came punishment to restore obedience. Then came reward to awaken greed. The guards no longer questioned the clan. They began measuring one another as rivals. Enough! Why are you still cluttering this place? Go downstairs and wait for the battle to finish. Afterward, clean the field. Yes, Lord Elder. Your subordinates take their leave. They retreated in reverence and terror. One guard misjudged a step on the stairs and stumbled into the man below him. In the next breath, bodies knocked into one another in a clumsy chain of muffled collisions. Yet beneath the Academy Elder's influence, every guard clenched his teeth and endured the pain. Faces reddened, muscles trembled, but not one dared release a sound. The Academy Elder listened to the suppressed commotion below and sneered inwardly. Those minions were no different from dogs. Every so often, disobedience would begin itching beneath their skin, and one had to strike them until they remembered fear and respect. Afterward, one merely needed to toss them a few small victories and a handful of bones. They would compete among themselves, each eager to serve the clan more desperately than the last. A stick in one hand and a carrot in the other. This was the method of those who ruled from above. Authority did not merely crush people, it redirected their fear and desire until they willingly tightened their own chains. The elder turned back toward the window. Outside, another group of more than 10 students lay scattered across the academy entrance. Fang Yuan stood upright among them. Opposite him, 3 young girls pressed their backs together, huddling like frightened birds trapped beneath the shadow of a hawk. You had better not come any closer. Take another step and we'll attack you with moonblades. Blue radiance gathered within their hands. Driven to desperation, the girls had begun mobilizing their primeval essence through the moonlight goo. Fang Yuan still possessed the body of an ordinary 15-year-old youth. A moonblade striking flesh would be no harmless matter. Yet he showed no fear. A cold sneer touched his lips as he advanced one measured step at a time. You girls possess impressive courage. But have you forgotten the Academy's rules? Using goo to fight within the Academy grounds is forbidden. The punishment is expulsion. Should you wish to be expelled, then attack. Fang Yuan did not attempt to overpower the moonlight goo. Instead, he attacked the girls' resolve. By invoking the Academy rules, he forced them to choose between immediate resistance and the destruction of their futures within the clan. There really is such a rule. Their hesitation was fatal. The blue light around their hands dimmed, and the threat of the moonblades vanished. A sharp gleam flashed through Fang Yuan's eyes. He exploded forward, closing the distance before the girls could recover their courage. His palms swept through the air with ruthless precision. 2 girls fell almost instantly, their resistance extinguished without a moment of doubt. The final girl's morale shattered, her knees weakened, and she collapsed onto the ground as tears streamed down her face. Fang Yuan, please, don't come any closer, let me go. Fang Yuan looked down at her. There was no anger upon his face, no excitement from victory, only the indifferent gaze of someone collecting what he had already decided was his. 1 primeval stone. The girl trembled violently. Understanding finally dawned, and she hurriedly tore open her money pouch. 3 or 4 primeval stones spilled into her palm as she stretched both hands toward him. Don't hit me. I'll give them all to you. You can take every stone. Fang Yuan remained expressionless, his right hand extended slowly, pale and slender beneath the daylight. To the terrified girl, however, that youthful hand resembled the claw of some merciless beast. His thumb and forefinger descended and calmly pinched a single primeval stone from her palm. I said before that I would take only 1 primeval stone. He paused, allowing the meaning of his restraint to settle. You may leave. The girl stared at him for a long moment before attempting to rise. Her limbs had become so weak that she could scarcely stand, and fear had drained every trace of strength from her body. Fang Yuan's mercy was not kindness. By taking exactly what he had declared and nothing more, he established a rule. Those who submitted lost 1 stone. Those who resisted suffered before losing the same stone. Predictability made his threat even more powerful. Watching from above, the Academy elder slowly shook his head. One reason he had remained an observer was to examine the combat talent and temperament of each student. The girl who had collapsed possessed only C-grade aptitude. Worse still, her mentality could not withstand pressure. She might eventually become a logistics goo master and perform useful work for the clan, but with such fragile resolve, no one could place expectations upon her on the battlefield. The elder then rubbed his chin, his narrowed eyes shining as they returned to Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan was undeniably interesting. He possessed genuine fighting talent, but he also understood proportion. Demanding 1 primeval stone from each student did not cross the boundary the elder had set within his heart. Had Fang Yuan demanded 2, however, the elder would have been forced to intervene. The Academy allowance consisted of only 3 primeval stones. Losing one remained a painful but tolerable lesson. Losing 2 would render the subsidy nearly meaningless. At that point, the Academy might as well hand the entire allowance directly to Fang Yuan. The elder's boundary was revealing. He did not oppose Fang Yuan's extortion on moral grounds. He judged it according to usefulness, scale, and its effect upon the clan's system. In this world, strength was tolerated so long as it did not damage the machinery of authority. Before long, the final group of students arrived at the gate. There were only 5 of them, and among their number stood Fang Yuan's twin younger brother, Gu Yue, Fang Zheng. Fang Zheng's eyes widened as he took in the fallen students, the blocked entrance, and his elder brother standing at the center of it all. "Brother, how could you do this? You are far too bold. You beat our classmates at the Academy gates and even took away their primeval stones." Disbelief filled Fang Zheng's face. The scene before him seemed too outrageous to accept. "I advise you to go before the Academy elder immediately and confess your mistake. You have caused an enormous disturbance. This is no joke. You might truly be expelled." Fang Yuan laughed. "You are right." Fang Zheng released the breath trapped within his chest. His brother had not completely lost his senses. He could still listen to reason. Then Fang Yuan spoke again. "Every one of you will hand over 1 primeval stone." "What?" Fang Zheng's mouth fell open. "Even I have to pay." Fang Yuan's tone became almost gentle. "My dearest little brother, naturally, you may choose not to pay. But then you will end up like them." He pointed toward the students scattered across the ground. Some had lost consciousness. Others remained curled up, groaning through their pain. "He will not even spare his own younger brother. Fang Yuan has gone mad. He is far too vicious. We cannot defeat him. A wise man does not fight when the odds are against him. We should hand over the stone and avoid unnecessary suffering." "That's right. It is only 1 primeval stone. Once we enter, we can report him to the teachers. Then he will receive his punishment." The suffering of those who had arrived before them served as a clearer lesson than any warning. Though defiance remained in their eyes, the 5 youths obediently surrendered 1 primeval stone each. Even familial ties held no privilege before Fang Yuan's plan. By demanding payment from Fang Zheng as well, he proved that his rule applied to everyone. Harsh as it was, that consistency prevented the others from claiming favoritism or searching for exceptions. The 5 students turned to leave, eager to escape his presence. "Wait." Every back stiffened. "Fang Yuan, are you going back on your word?" Nervousness spread through the group. Fang Yuan ignored their suspicion and looked toward the bodies covering the entrance. "Do you truly expect me to crouch down and search every one of them myself?" The 5 youths stared blankly. Then realization struck them one after another. Their faces flushed red, and humiliation rooted their feet to the ground. Fang Yuan narrowed his eyes. Cold light flickered within his gaze, and the pressure of his presence descended once more. The 5 students felt their hearts quicken. Their scalps prickled as though invisible blades had been placed against their necks. "Fine, Fang Yuan, we understand. We will help you this once." Under Fang Yuan's oppressive aura, they lowered their heads and began searching the money pouches of the students lying across the ground. From every pouch, they removed exactly 1 primeval stone. Stone after stone gathered in their hands until they finally carried the entire collection back to Fang Yuan. This final command was more than convenience. Fang Yuan forced the last students to participate in his extortion, turning unwilling victims into temporary servants. Their humiliation deepened, while his authority grew without requiring another blow. The entire class contained 57 students. Fang Yuan had taken 1 primeval stone from every person except himself, gaining 56 stones in a single morning. Before this, he had possessed 20 primeval stones. 10 had already been spent purchasing several jars of green bamboo wine. After adding the academy allowance, his reward and the stones gathered from his classmates, Fang Yuan's total wealth now reached 79 primeval stones. A business requiring no capital, built entirely upon extortion and plunder, is indeed the most profitable kind of business. His once light money pouch had become heavy and swollen. Fang Yuan tucked it calmly into his robes and strode away from the academy gates. Behind him remained a field of fallen youths, scattered across the ground like defeated soldiers after a one-sided campaign. Fang Zheng and several others stood motionless, staring at the gradually receding shadow of the young man they thought they understood. Fang Yuan had gained far more than 79 primeval stones. In front of the entire class, he had established fear, demonstrated calculation, and seized the initiative in his cultivation journey. Yet such dominance also planted resentment in dozens of hearts. A harvest this rich would inevitably cast an equally long shadow. Only after Fang Yuan disappeared did the academy guards rush from the building. Their earlier fear had transformed into feverish eagerness, each man desperate to distinguish himself before the coming chief guard examination. "Move quickly. Arrange the young masters properly. Where is the treatment Gu master? Bring him here immediately." They shouted over one another and nearly stumbled in their haste, each guard displaying boundless devotion for the sake of one small promotion. Thus, while Fang Yuan departed with his spoils, the academy elders' invisible contest had already begun. At the gate, students had fought for primeval stones. Inside the academy, grown men prepared to fight for status. In the Guyo clan, strength, profit, and ambition ruled every level of the mountain. "Put every jar beneath the bed." Fang Yuan pointed toward the empty space beneath his bed, while 4 inn-workers carried jars of green bamboo wine into the dormitory. The fragrance of wine spread through the room, faint yet unmistakable. After successfully extorting his fellow students, Fang Yuan had gone directly to the inn and purchased 20 jars in a single transaction. Each jar cost 2 primeval stones. 40 primeval stones vanished from his pouch, all to feed one seemingly harmless creature, the liquor worm. The money pouch that had only recently become heavy was reduced by more than half, leaving 39 primeval stones behind. Yet Fang Yuan felt no regret. These 20 jars would sustain the liquor worm for a considerable period. To ordinary students, 40 primeval stones represented a fortune. To Fang Yuan, however, wealth had value only when it could be transformed into strength. Hoarding resources without using them was no different from guarding a treasure for one's future killer. Understood. The workers answered at once. Before a Gu master, they dared not show the slightest disrespect. Moreover, anyone capable of buying 20 jars at once was an important customer in the innkeeper's eyes. With a single instruction, Fang Yuan had caused them to abandon their other duties and serve him first. When the last servant departed, Fang Yuan closed the dormitory door. He returned to the bed, folded his legs beneath him, and sat in silent meditation. Night had already descended over Guye village. Stars glittered across the heavens, the moon shone with cold clarity, and a gentle breeze carried the faint fragrance of mountain flowers through the darkness. There was no lamp burning inside the room. Fang Yuan steadied his breathing, emptied his mind of distractions, and sank his awareness into the depths of his aperture. Within that mysterious inner world, waves rose and fell across the primeval sea. The water radiated a green-copper glow, and every shining drop was the primeval essence unique to a rank 1 Gu master. The sea occupied only 44% of the aperture. This was the natural limit imposed by Fang Yuan's sea-grade aptitude. 4 thin walls of white light surrounded the aperture, supporting and enclosing the space like fragile celestial barriers. Above the primeval sea, the sky was empty. Under Fang Yuan's command, the spring-autumn cicada had concealed itself once more and entered deep sleep, silently recovering from its injuries. Floating upon the green-copper waves was a plump, white liquor worm. It rolled about without restraint, diving beneath the water one moment and resurfacing the next. Its tiny head and tail shook happily, scattering droplets across the inner sea. Fang Yuan sent forth a command through his mind. The liquor worm immediately stopped playing. Its soft body curled inward until it resembled a white rice dumpling, then slowly floated upward from the surface of the primeval sea. With another thought, Fang Yuan mobilized 1/10 of his primeval essence. The green copper water gathered into a narrow stream and shot directly into the liquor worm. The goo worm had already been completely refined. It offered no resistance, swallowing the entire stream and drawing every trace of primeval essence into its body. The surface of the primeval sea immediately sank by a visible amount. At the same moment, the curled liquor worm transformed the absorbed essence into power and began radiating a soft white light. Within that gentle radiance, wine fumes slowly emerged. They gathered strand by strand until they became a pale white mist, thick with the mysterious fragrance of spiritual wine. The mist did not scatter. It remained wrapped around the liquor worm like a veil of cloud surrounding a tiny immortal beast. Fang Yuan commanded it to rise, then transferred another 10% of his primeval essence into the surrounding wine mist. Green copper seawater surged into the mist. As the two merged, the pale vapor gradually diminished. In only a few breaths, it vanished without leaving the slightest trace. The 10% of primeval essence had also changed. Its volume was reduced by half, leaving only 5% behind. Yet what remained was far denser and more refined than before. The original essence had possessed the bright green shade of jade, while retaining a metallic copper luster. Now the copper sheen remained, but the green had deepened into a pale, richer tone. This was pale green primeval essence, the power normally possessed only by a rank 1 middle-stage goo master. The true value of the liquor worm was revealed here. It could condense a goo master's primeval essence and raise its quality by 1 minor realm. Fang Yuan remained at the initial stage, yet a portion of the power within his aperture had already crossed the boundary into the middle stage. The path of goo cultivation contained 9 great realms, beginning at rank 1 and rising all the way to rank 9. Each great realm was further divided into 4 stages: initial, middle, upper, and peak. Fang Yuan was presently only a rank 1 initial stage goo master. With the liquor worm's assistance, however, he had refined 5% of his primeval sea into the essence of a rank 1 middle stage cultivator. He calculated silently. To produce 5% middle stage essence, he had consumed 20% initial stage essence. To transform all 44% of his primeval sea, he would require roughly 180% of his current reserves. His aperture alone could not provide so much power in a single session. If he wished to complete the conversion quickly, he would have to draw additional essence from primeval stones. This was why the primeval stones taken from the academy students mattered so greatly. Fang Yuan had not extorted them merely to accumulate wealth. Every stone shortened the distance between his present weakness and the strength required to control his own fate. Fang Yuan opened his eyes and reached into his pouch. He withdrew a complete primeval stone, translucent grey and oval-shaped, roughly the size of a duck egg. A primeval stone contained natural primeval essence. As that essence was consumed, the stone itself would gradually shrink until nothing useful remained. His right hand closed around the stone. Without hesitation, Fang Yuan absorbed the natural essence sealed within it and guided the energy into his aperture. The lowered surface of the primeval sea slowly began to rise again. Green copper waves swelled, replenished by the power flowing from the stone. Primeval stones existed to be used. Fang Yuan was neither reluctant nor sentimental. He would never preserve a resource merely for the comfort of seeing it remain in his possession. He had no powerful elder standing behind him, no loyal friends supplying him with resources, and no family willing to support his cultivation. Therefore, he could rely only on what he seized through his own methods. Today's extortion was merely the beginning. Every 7 days, when the academy distributed allowances, Fang Yuan intended to block the gates again and collect primeval stones from the other students. One successful robbery could never satisfy the demands of cultivation. The higher a Gu master climbed, the more resources the path consumed. Fang Yuan understood this truth too clearly to be restrained by shame, reputation, or the resentment of children. Nor did he fear the consequences. This world was not governed by the values of Earth. On Earth, schools prohibited fighting to preserve peace and order. Here, conflict was not an accident to be avoided. It was the central law of existence. Gu masters and ordinary mortals alike fought to survive. Sometimes their enemy was a savage beast emerging from the wilderness. Sometimes it was merciless weather sweeping down from the mountains. At other times, it was another Gu master competing for the same precious resources. Thus, controlled fighting was not merely tolerated. It was encouraged. From childhood brawls to battles deciding life and death, struggle accompanied almost every human being from youth until the grave. The world itself was vast beyond imagination. The southern border where Fang Yuan lived was already 7 or 8 times larger than the entire surface of Earth. Its lands were hostile, its wilderness cruel. Humans survived by constructing mountain villages and gathering together into clans, forming isolated strongholds amid endless danger. Beast tides could descend without warning. Terrible weather could batter a settlement until its defenses collapsed. Foreign Gu masters might infiltrate beneath the cover of darkness. In every crisis, Gu masters formed the core force protecting the village. Every year brought fresh casualties. Survival demanded people with powerful fighting spirit, and no clan would ever complain that it possessed too many battle-capable Gu masters. Furthermore, Fang Yuan's assault had remained within acceptable limits. He had never struck the lower jaw, where a blow might fracture the skull and cause death. He had avoided the back of the head as well. He had not used his fists, elbows, or stabbing fingers. Instead, he relied primarily on open palm strikes, and even his kicks had been few. The defeated students had suffered no serious wounds. At worst, they carried bruises and light injuries. Fang Yuan's restraint did not come from kindness. It came from calculation. Killing these students would bring punishment without increasing his gains, so he stopped before crossing that line. His violence was measured because his purpose was precise. Fang Yuan was not driven by a thirst for blood. To him, killing was only one possible method among many. Whenever he acted, he first established a clear goal. Then he chose whichever method could reach that goal with the greatest speed and efficiency. Morality, convention, and reputation held no authority over his decisions. This was perhaps the most dangerous aspect of Fang Yuan. A reckless villain could be predicted through anger or greed. Fang Yuan was different. He could spare a life without mercy and take one without hatred, because both choices were merely tools in his hands. Outside, drifting clouds crossed the heavens and swallowed the moonlight. A vast shadow slowly covered Guyu village. The night watchman struck his wooden clappers through the streets, announcing that the hour had grown late. His warning reminded the villagers to guard against fire, beast attacks, and foreign Gu masters attempting to infiltrate the clan. Yet many lamps still burned behind the village walls. Within the residence of the Qi family branch, the study of Gu Yue Qi Lian remained brightly illuminated. The elderly man held high authority within the clan, but when speaking to his grandson, his voice was unexpectedly gentle. "I heard that Fang Yuan defeated you today." Gu Yue Qi Cheng stood before him with one eye darkened by a bruise. The humiliation of the academy gate still burned in his chest. "Yes, grandfather. Fang Yuan is only a miserable C-grade talent, yet he dared to behave with such arrogance. He blocked all of us at the academy entrance. He ignored every trace of friendship between classmates and robbed us of our primeval stones. Even the academy deliberately looked the other way. The guards only hurried over after Fang Yuan had already walked away. Grandfather, you must help me avenge this humiliation." Gu Yue Qi Lian did not rise in anger. Instead, he slowly shook his head. "This is a dispute between you juniors. You lost only one primeval stone, and your injuries are minor. Without a proper justification, your grandfather cannot interfere. Even if Fang Yuan had wounded you severely, I still would not personally stand up for you. Do you understand why?" Qi Cheng froze. He lowered his gaze and struggled to understand the meaning hidden within those words. Only after a long silence did he offer a hesitant answer. "Grandfather, I think I understand. You want me to depend upon my own strength and find my own path. You have understood only one part." The old man nodded, then fixed his grandson with a grave and penetrating gaze. "You must remember that you do not represent only yourself. Every action you take represents our entire Qi family branch. For many years our branch has confronted the Mo family branch. Your every victory and every defeat will shape how others judge the future of the Qi family. I may assist you from the shadows, but before the clan, you must display strength, independence, and self-reliance. Otherwise, the elders supporting our branch will see no hope in our future. Once their confidence is lost, they will abandon the Qi family branch." Qi Cheng's bruised eye was only a minor matter. What truly concerned Qi Lian was political perception. In a clan divided into competing branches, the image of an heir could determine alliances, resources, and the survival of an entire faction. Gu Yue Qi Lian released a long sigh. Beneath his gentle expression lay the exhaustion of an elder who had spent years preserving his family's position. "That is also why I helped you deceive the clan and allowed you to impersonate someone with B-grade aptitude. Our Chai family needs a powerful successor, someone capable of holding together all those who presently support us." At last, understanding dawned across Qi Cheng's face. Fang Yuan's attack was no longer merely a personal humiliation. It had damaged the image he was expected to uphold as the future heir of the Qi branch. "Grandfather, I understand now." Yet Qi Lian shook his head again. "Understanding alone is useless. You must work. Fang Yuan is only a small obstacle. From this moment onward, you must study diligently, strengthen your basic martial arts, and reclaim the dignity you lost. You must also cultivate without laziness and advance to the middle stage as quickly as possible. The best result would be for you to seize the position of class monitor. That honor would not belong to you alone. It would strengthen the standing of our entire Qi family branch." While Fang Yuan transformed stolen primeval stones into immediate cultivation progress, Qi Cheng was being shaped into a political symbol. One advanced through ruthless independence, the other depended upon a family's hidden support. Their conflict had begun as a beating at the academy gate, but the forces behind them were already far greater than either classroom pride or a single stone. "Yes, grandfather," Qi Cheng answered loudly, his earlier frustration replaced by renewed determination. "Good. That is the spirit expected of the heir to our Qi branch. Work hard, grandson. I will do everything within my power to help you." Yet while the Chai family prepared its heir to recover his honor, Fang Yuan had already turned that same victory into wine. primeval essence, and a faster path toward the middle stage. By the time others began planning their retaliation, he was already converting their anger into his next advantage. Almost at the same moment elsewhere within Guyu village, another storm was quietly gathering beneath a roof of silence. Honorary father, honorary mother, that was more or less everything that happened. Fang Zheng stood straight inside the hall. His posture was respectful, yet a trace of caution clung to every word, as though one careless sentence might pull him into the whirlpool surrounding his elder brother. Across from him, Fang Yuan's uncle, Guyue Dongtu, and his aunt sat upon enormous high-backed chairs. Both wore deep frowns, but while the uncle remained thoughtful, the aunt ground her teeth with unconcealed resentment. That bastard Fang Yuan, extorting outsiders, was already shameless enough, but he did not even spare his own younger brother. How can anyone be so heartless and unfeeling? This time his offence is enormous. I refuse to believe the Academy will tolerate it. He will surely be expelled before long. Her anger carried two flavors at once: injustice on Fang Zheng's behalf, and secret delight at Fang Yuan's apparent downfall. To her, this was not merely a disciplinary matter. Fang Yuan's disgrace would vindicate their decision to cut off his living expenses and prove that the troublesome youth had finally destroyed himself. Enough, speak less. Guyue Dongtu released a heavy sigh before turning his attention toward Fang Zheng. You lost only one primeval stone. Do not concern yourself with it. Go to the treasury and take another. There is nothing else for you here. What matters is your cultivation. With your A-grade talent, you have a great chance of becoming the first among your generation to reach the middle stage. Do not squander the gift heaven has placed in your hands. Your mother and I are waiting to see you become number one. His words sounded like encouragement, but beneath them lay expectation as heavy as iron. Fang Zheng's talent was not merely a source of family pride. It was an asset upon which the household had already begun placing its ambitions. Yes, father and mother, your son will take his leave. Fang Zheng withdrew from the hall, yet his heart was anything but calm. Trepidation rolled through his chest like distant thunder. Fang Yuan had blocked the academy gates, beaten his fellow students, and robbed every one of them. The aftermath was severe enough that Fang Zheng could not dismiss the possibility of expulsion. A single question twisted inside him. If Fang Yuan truly faced expulsion, should he step forward and plead for mercy? Then, as though his divided heart had gained two mouths, opposing voices rose within him. There is no reason to plead for him. You are his younger brother, yet he still robbed your primeval stone. If he is expelled, it will be the consequence of his own actions. When heaven brings calamity, one may still escape, but when a man creates his own ruin, he has no one else to blame. But he is still your elder brother. You share the same blood and wear similar faces. Even if you refuse to acknowledge him in your heart, you must still speak on his behalf. If you remain silent, what will the clan think of you? They may call you heartless, ungrateful, and eager to abandon your own kin. This was Fang Zheng's true prison. One voice demanded justice, while the other feared public judgment. His struggle was not born solely from brotherly affection, but from the unbearable weight of reputation, family duty, and the eyes of the clan. Back inside the hall, the aunt watched Fang Zheng disappear through the doorway. Unable to contain herself, she turned toward her husband with bright, triumphant eyes. Husband, we cut off Fang Yuan's living expenses, and that little bastard finally could not endure it. Now he has committed an enormous mistake. He blocked the academy gates, fought in public, and extorted the other students. That is no different from challenging the authority of the academy elder himself. His expulsion must be close at hand. But Guyue Dongtu slowly shook his head. You are thinking too simply. Fang Yuan will not be expelled. In fact, he may not receive any punishment at all. Why? The uncle gave a cold snort, his gaze sharpening with the patience of someone explaining the obvious. The academy encourages fighting so long as no grave consequences occur. Did any student die? How can you be certain there were no serious injuries? Accidents always happen when people fight. Guyedong too closed his eyes and leaned back against the chair, his expression almost weary. Woman, you are truly naive. Do you believe the academy elder and his guards are merely decorations? When did the guards intervene? Only at the final moment. That proves the entire incident remained under their control. Had anyone been severely injured, they would have acted much earlier, instead of waiting until everything was over. The timing of the guards revealed the truth. Fang Yuan had appeared to seize control of the academy gates, yet the academy had been watching from the shadows all along, allowing pressure to rise without letting disaster escape its cage. You are not a Gu master, so you do not understand. The academy does not forbid fights between students. On the contrary, it quietly encourages them. The more they fight, the more battle experience they gain. Some students may even form strong bonds after trading blows. The elders will not interfere. This has already become routine. If parents or relatives acted on behalf of their children, they would be the ones breaking the rules. The aunt stared at him, dumbfounded. The triumph on her face faded, replaced by stubborn dissatisfaction. Then nothing will happen to Fang Yuan. He stole so many primeval stones, and they will simply let him keep them. That amount will greatly assist his cultivation. Her frustration was well-founded. In the world of Gu masters, primeval stones were more than wealth. They represented stored cultivation resources, and every stone Fang Yuan took could shorten the road toward his next breakthrough. Guyedong too opened his eyes, a gloomy shadow crossed his face. What else can we do? Do you expect me to confront him personally and snatch every primeval stone back? Still, this matter is not entirely useless to us. Fang Yuan even extorted his own younger brother. That is the weakness we can exploit. Fang Zheng possesses A-grade talent. One day he will certainly surpass Fang Yuan. We will use this incident to divide them and deepen the discord between the brothers. Then we will draw Fang Zheng away from Fang Yuan and bring him completely to our side. Here, Guyedong too revealed his true calculation. He did not need to defeat Fang Yuan directly. He only needed to control the more talented brother and turn their fractured blood relationship into a weapon. And perhaps that was more dangerous than open hostility. A blade can be seen before it falls, but manipulation enters through trust, duty, and wounded pride. 3 days passed. The disturbance caused by Fang Yuan's robbery did not spread into a greater scandal. Like waves losing strength upon a distant shore, the uproar gradually subsided. No elder violated academy custom to seek trouble with Fang Yuan. As for the academy elder himself, he simply pretended not to see, allowing the matter to pass as though nothing remarkable had occurred. 2 or 3 youths still refused to accept the humiliation of losing their primeval stones. Burning with resentment, they challenged Fang Yuan. But each challenge ended the same way. Fang Yuan knocked them down with effortless precision, leaving their pride on the ground beside them. Only then did the students understand a bitter truth. Without training their martial skills, they would never defeat him. A fever of determination swept through the entire class. The youths threw themselves into martial training, drilling their bodies and repeating the basic techniques until sweat soaked their clothing. Fang Yuan had become their common enemy, yet that hatred forged discipline more effectively than lectures ever had. By humiliating them, he forced them to confront their own weakness. The martial arts instructor was delighted. Never before had he seen a group of students pursue training with such fierce enthusiasm. Previously, His lessons had been filled with wandering eyes, lazy movements, and endless yawns. Now the students surrounded him constantly, asking questions with eyes blazing like newly kindled flames. The transformation was so dramatic that the Academy Elder personally came to investigate. The students have shown extraordinary enthusiasm. The change is astonishing. Only one student remains as lazy as ever. His name is Fang Yuan. The Academy Elder laughed and patted the instructor's shoulder. The student you call lazy is the very reason all the others have changed. The martial arts instructor could only stare in confusion. The Academy Elder understood what the instructor did not. Fang Yuan was troublesome, ruthless, and disruptive, but his presence created pressure, and pressure could temper young Gu masters faster than comfort ever would. Yet the changes did not end with greater enthusiasm for training. Fang Yuan had unquestionably become the public enemy of the entire student body. Hostility followed him wherever he walked, and isolation closed around him like an invisible wall. No one spoke to him, no one greeted him, even casual glances carried resentment. Privately, the youths trained with all their strength. Encouraged by parents and clan elders, they swore that one day they would reclaim their honor with their own hands. On the surface, the academy appeared calm. Beneath that calm, however, an undercurrent of fury surged without rest. Fang Yuan stood alone against an entire generation, but isolation did not frighten him. For someone carrying centuries of experience, the resentment of inexperienced youths was not a wall. It was merely another terrain to exploit. 4 more days passed, and the Academy Elder distributed the students' primeval stone allowances once again. The moment those stones entered their hands, the students knew the nightmare had returned. Fang Yuan stood in the center of the academy entrance once more. His hands rested behind his back, his expression remained cold, and the gate behind him seemed to transform into a narrow pass, guarded by a single merciless figure. Fang Yuan, robbing us once was not enough? You intend to seize our primeval stones again? Shock and anger erupted through the crowd, but Fang Yuan did not so much as blink. 1 primeval stone from each person pay, and you will be spared physical pain. His voice was flat, almost indifferent. That calmness only made the threat feel heavier. Fang Yuan, your bullying has gone too far. I challenge you. Guillermo Bei strode out first, rage blazing across his face. Oh. Fang Yuan raised one eyebrow as Mo Bei clenched his fists and charged. Fists crossed, feet shifted. Attack and defense unfolded across several rapid exchanges. Then Mo Bei collapsed unconscious upon the ground. Mo Bei, you are useless, watch me. Guye Chi-Cheng shouted and rushed forward, unwilling to let Mo Bei's defeat extinguish the student's courage. He attacked, defended, and struggled fiercely, but before long he followed Mo Bei onto the ground. The difference was not simply strength. Fang Yuan's battle experience exceeded theirs by an unimaginable degree. Though his cultivation had only recently begun, every movement was measured, and every fragment of force landed where it produced the greatest result. The other students, by contrast, had barely stepped onto the road of cultivation. Their fists carried anger, but their bodies lacked control. Their courage was real, yet their timing was crude. Had they attacked together, their numbers might have caused Fang Yuan some inconvenience, but pride drove them to challenge him one by one, turning a dangerous crowd into a line of isolated opponents. For Fang Yuan, this second extortion was therefore even easier than the first. One challenger fell, then another. Fists struck flesh, bodies hit the ground, and the academy entrance filled with groans of defeat. 15 minutes later, Fang Yuan walked away at an unhurried pace. A swollen money pouch hung at his side, heavy with the primeval stones of his classmates. Behind him lay a field of defeated youths. Some remained motionless, while others clutched their stomachs or lower bodies, moaning through clenched teeth. The scene carried a cruel irony. Their hatred had made them train harder, but a few days of determination could not bridge the gulf between raw beginners and a reborn schemer whose instincts had been sharpened across countless struggles. Yet every defeat planted another seed. Fang Yuan was harvesting primeval stones in the present, while unknowingly, or perhaps knowingly, forcing an entire generation to grow stronger for the confrontations ahead. Only after Fang Yuan vanished from sight did the guards finally emerge from their hiding places. "Brothers, hurry, it is time to clear the field." The guards rushed forward together, gathering the fallen students with the practiced speed of men who had expected this outcome from the very beginning.